If the proposed December 17 referendum to set the tone for the election of MMDCEs is to be meaningful, it must, among other things, be inclusive to make room for minority groups. Chairperson of the National Commission on Civic Education, NCCE, Josephine Nkrumah, is advocating women and the physically challenged should play active roles in the process, expected to devolve power to the local level. At a public conversation on the benefits and reforms of electing MMDCEs, the NCCE boss called for the full participation of Ghanaians to ensure a 40% turnout and a 75% yes vote for the process.
If it's a yes vote, what you find is that a group has to be appointed, maybe the parliamentarians. That's why you need the two parties, because they are the only ones in parliament between now and the end of December next year. And how they collaborate becomes important. But there are various committees. So the Ministry of Justice, is one that looks at the legal issues, So they will look at the legal implications. I'm sure the cabinet, the president, it's the president's agenda anyway. I expect he'll be a very happy man if he gets the yes vote. And on that basis, he is probably going to appoint the technical people he must have, looking at the laws that must change. Take, for example, the existing laws today were not designed for parties to sponsor candidates in local government or become chief executives. And if parties are going to local government, you see, the state is a state of law. Law must govern everything. And existing law doesn't apply to them. So what would you do? You would have to redesign or introduce a new law. Those are the legal reforms. Also, as organizations, we've had 27 years to look at political parties in action. We've seen their strength, at least because of them, as political and civil rights are protected. But we've seen them performing poorly on development and delivering what they promise, and we are not satisfied with development after 27 years and so on. So if we're going into looking at what we must do so parties serve as well, I think we'll pay less attention to their making them electoral and pop. That we've seen. We even want to regulate that. But we are going to concentrate on what will make them give us the development goods.
We know that characteristic with district level elections is low voter turnout. So it's critical for us to encourage a massive voter turnout to make the election, the district level elections, successful, and more importantly, to get the critical 40% requirement we need for a referendum, and further get 75%, no less than 75% of Ghanaians voting in favor of the amendment of that critical clause, Article 55.3. This is going to allow multi-party democracy at the grassroots level. We've seen many organizations and stakeholders here supporting this proposal, and so going forward into the elections, we expect that all of these organizations, including the political party, are going to galvanize their supporters to come out and vote massively. As an institution, NCCE, ours is to educate, and so we are there to educate and to bring out the issues, provide a platform for the issues to be discussed dispassionately, but with the sole objective that people understand and make informed decisions come December 17th, 2019. I think it's also important for us to begin to address certain things that have emanated from this public conversation that IDEC has organized today. So right now, there is a support generally that we should see ourselves deepening democracy and further devolution of power to the people, so that power actually now rests in the hands of the people in determining the developmental politics of our nation. But more important is what happens after that. What kind of reforms should we be looking at? And this platform has provided the reforms that we can anticipate in the event that this referendum is a success. We are looking at administrative reform, fiscal reform, economic reform, political reform, significant political reform being the ceding of power from the president in appointing MMDCs and letting that rest in the hands of the people. think we must point it out, even though we're talking about Article 55, which currently bars political parties from participating in elections, the new call is, or the call currently is for multi-party democracy at the grassroots level. So people think, okay, we're going to have political parties fielding their candidates to stand for any district chief executive. But I think it also this process also allows for independent candidates. And one of the key things that we must begin to question is democracy is meant to be inclusive and participatory. What mechanisms are we putting in place to ensure that marginalized groups are properly included in this process? Not just the process of towards the referendum, not just the process of making the, or not just the issue of making the process fair, free, and transparent, but beyond that, how do we ensure that women, persons with disability, youth groups can fully participate, because we are looking at an inclusionary system of governance.
That is the boss for the NCCE.